Malaysia is a country in Southeast Asia bordering Thailand, Singapore, Indonesia and Brunei. The country consists of 13 federal territories spread over two main landmasses, the Malaysian Peninsula and the Borneo region. These two landmasses are separated by the South China Sea. Malaysia may not be too famous for being a popular destination to move to, but in my opinion, Malaysia is an underrated country that must be explored in more detail. This is proven by the following facts. Malaysia is the second highest ranked country in the Human Development Index in Southeast Asia, behind Singapore, the second highest ranked country in the Economic Freedom Index in Southeast Asia, again behind Singapore, and the highest ranked country in the Democracy Index in Southeast Asia, but it does not score above average in the Press Freedom Index. But first, some background information. With an area of 330,000 square kilometers, Malaysia is the 67th largest country in the world, about the size of Norway or Finland. Its largest cities are Kuala Lumpur, which is also the capital, followed by Seberang, Perai, Georgetown and Ipoh. In contrast to its huge neighbor Indonesia, with 267 million inhabitants, Malaysia only has 31.5 million inhabitants. Malaysia is known for the Petronas Towers, for the rainforest, the variety of animals and national parks, for the beaches and islands, for its food, for being close to Singapore, for being the southernmost country in mainland Asia, and also for being the USA of Southeast Asia. Because not only is the flag similar to that of the USA, but Malaysia is home to many immigrants from a wide variety of countries and is therefore a multi-ethnic state. But as we will find out later, Malaysia has much more than that to offer. 61% of the population are Muslims, about 20% are Buddhists, 9% are Christians and 6.3% are Hindu. So there is a great diversity of religions in Malaysia. Almost 70% are of Malay descent. This includes a large indigenous population, 23% of Chinese descent and 7% of Indian descent. The official language is Malay. Malay English is also recognized. The flag of Malaysia is inspired by the flag of the USA. The 14 red and white stripes of the flag represent the original 14 states of Malaysia. Thus, the star in the flag of Malaysia also has 14 spikes. Red and white are traditional colors of Malaysia. The blue rectangle originally indicated the connection to the Commonwealth. Later, it was interpreted as unity for the Malaysian people. The crescent represents Islam, and yellow is the royal color. Malaysia is an elective monarchy and it is also the only federation in Southeast Asia. The state is structured upon the Westminster system of Great Britain. In Malaysia, people pay with the ringgit. Malaysia's economy is the 38th largest in the world and labor productivity is significantly higher than in Thailand, Indonesia, the Philippines or Vietnam. Malaysia is the second largest exporter of palm oil products behind Indonesia. It is an exporter of natural resources, mainly petroleum and agricultural products. Natural rubber, timber, pepper, pineapple and tobacco are agricultural products that Malaysia successfully exports. Malaysia's economy is one of the most competitive in the world. More specifically, Malaysia ranks 27th in the world among the most competitive countries worldwide. It also ranks 12th in the Ease of Doing Business Index, ahead of every other country in Southeast Asia except Singapore. The electronics industry is one of the most important sectors of the economy, contributing 33% to the country's exports while employing 30% of the Malaysian workforce. Not surprisingly, electronic equipment is one of Malaysia's most important exports, followed by machinery, chemicals and petroleum. Malaysia has access to the Strait of Malacca, one of the most important transport routes for international trade. Roughly 40% of the world trade passes through this strait. In addition, the tourism industry is surprisingly large, with over 57 million domestic tourists and nearly 27.5 million international tourists. In 2018, Malaysia was the 15th most visited country in the world by international tourists and the 5th most visited country in Asia. The largest export partners are China, Singapore and the US, which are also the largest import partners in the same order. If you have an idea which country I should cover next, please let me know down in the comments. This video is part of a video series that is all about moving to different countries worldwide. You can find the playlist linked in the description below. But back to Malaysia, what are the main upsides of moving to Malaysia and what needs to be considered? About 3.4 million people living in Malaysia were not born there, but moved to this country during their lifetime. Large foreign populations are the Chinese, the Indians and the Indonesians. Another fact worth knowing about Malaysia's demographics is that the median age in Malaysia is at just under 30. This makes Malaysia one of the countries with a young population, which could have a positive impact on the economic development of the country and thus the quality of life. But what are the main upsides of moving to Malaysia? Let us begin with the fact that Malaysia is a diverse country in many ways. As mentioned previously, Malaysia is diverse in terms of religion and ethnicities, but it also has a high diversity in terms of nature. It is not without reason that Malaysia is one of the 17 mega-diverse countries in the world. It is estimated that Malaysia is home to about 20% of the world's animal species. Many species living in Malaysia are endemic, meaning they live exclusively in Malaysia. From the Malaysian tiger to the oriental hornbill, from the Rafflesia to over 4,000 species of mushrooms and many species of birds in Borneo as well as mainland Malaysia. But one must also mention that illegal logging, hunting of endangered animals, international wildlife trade and also mass tourism are big problems of the country. To protect nature, the government has established 28 national parks. Malaysia has not only beaches to offer, but also mountains that climb up to 4,000 meters above sea level. Mount Kinabalu is Malaysia's largest mountain, reaching a height of 4,095 meters above sea level, and just looks terrific. In addition, 2/3 of the country is covered by forests, which are believed to be more than 130 million years old. There are not many countries where you can find so many different landscapes, from beaches, swamplands, rainforests, many islands, like the Turtle Islands, to mountains 4,000 meters high. Borneo is also home to the world's largest underground room, namely the Sarawak Cave. Another advantage, depending on personal preferences, is the climate. Malaysia is located just above the equator, which means that there is a tropical climate with relatively high humidity all year round. In Kuala Lumpur, the climate practically does not change at all throughout the year. The average daily temperature is 28 degrees in all 4 seasons. On average, there are about 150 rainy days per year in Kuala Lumpur, which means that on average, almost every second day is a rainy day. Whether you interpret this as an advantage or a disadvantage is up to you. On the one hand, this climate is great for people who prefer a warm climate. On the other hand, it is very monotonous and can get boring after a while. Let us take a look at the culture. Precise handicrafts from handwoven baskets to silver work play a significant role in Malaysia's culture. Wau bulan, which are handmade kites, and batik, which is dyeing of textiles, are also part of it. Malaysians are internationally known for their hospitality and friendliness. Although Malaysia's large, vibrant cities are chaotic, most Malaysians have a relaxed and easygoing attitude towards life. The cuisine is another part of culture worth mentioning. Since Malaysia has a multi-ethnic population, there are many different traditions in the country. These are influenced by the traditions of Malaysia's indigenous populations, but also by Chinese, Indian, Oriental and Indonesian traditions. In general, chili pepper, belkan, a type of shrimp paste, seafood and soy sauce play an important role in Malaysia's cuisine. In addition, rice and noodles are common. Another major advantage is that many people are proficient in English, which makes it easier to socialize. About 50 to 60% of the population has some level of English proficiency. English is widely spoken in Kuala Lumpur and other major cities, but less common in rural areas or the country's eastern island. Malaysia used to be a British colony before it became independent in 1957, so some British cultural influences remain, including the language. Last but not least, the low cost of living is another upside of this country. If you live off $3,000 a month in Denver, Colorado, you only need about $1,150 a month for the same quality of life in Kuala Lumpur. Therefore, living in Malaysia's capital is more than 61% less expensive than living in Denver. On average, Malaysians earn about $11,000 annually, slightly more than in other countries in Southeast Asia. In spite of all these upsides, there are also some drawbacks that you will need to consider. Corruption is less widespread than in all other Southeast Asian countries except Singapore. But it still remains a problem. There is also a lot of traffic chaos, at least in the cities of the country. Malaysia does not have a good reputation for safety, but according to some blog posts on the internet, foreign residents do not at all feel unsafe in Malaysia. But what needs to be done in order to move to Malaysia? Residents of many countries can enter Malaysia visa-free for a maximum of 90 days. This comes in handy since it gives you the possibility to explore Malaysia first before deciding to move there. For a longer stay, there are either short-term or long-term residence permits. These include an investor visa, a work visa, a visa for relatives of Malaysian citizens, but also visas for study or seminars. Since this depends on your personal circumstances, I have linked additional sources down in the video description.